Hey everyone, I'm Emilio and I'm a photographer and videographer from Melbourne, Australia. Today I live in Bali with my partner Tina and our 2 adopted dogs. Together we run a creative agency where we offer everything from fashion campaigns to e-commerce photography to videography for luxury villas and hotels, and we run a school called the Institute of Code that teaches students from all over the world photography, marketing and web development. How did I become a photographer? That's a great question. I would say it wasn't until a solo trip to South America where I borrowed my dad's camera that I started to really fall in love with photography. My dad had written this little cheat sheet on this tiny piece of paper on how to take things like long exposures at waterfalls or how to say certain aspects of manual mode for me. And the rest was just trial and error. Now, after returning home, my interest and love for photography only continued to grow. I had my camera with me everywhere, whether that was overseas for a little weekend away, but I never really considered pursuing photography as a career, whether that was in high school or even at university. It wasn't until I moved to Bali that I considered turning photography into a side hustle, let alone a full career. I started taking photos of friends for fun as we would explore the island, and then that led me to shooting friends of friends and eventually strangers. People started asking me for my rates and offering me money for my photography. That's when I realized that this could grow into something. It took around 6 months from the moment I decided that I wanted to become a photographer to actually being able to quit my job and earn a full-time living as a photographer. I started with portraits and adventure travel photography, then taught myself food photography and product photography. Then I started shooting for luxury hotels and villas, and then eventually growing into fashion photography, working with teams of models, hair and makeup artists, stylists, etc. So today I run a full creative agency with an amazing team behind me, shooting campaigns for local and international brands. And I still pinch myself sometimes that I get to do something that I love so much for a living. I've been living in Bali, Indonesia for the past 7 years now, and I honestly can't see myself leaving anytime soon. There's so much to love about this island: stunning landscapes, tropical weather, great quality of life. But I think what really drew me to Bali was something a bit more intangible: the community and the people here. Bali is this creative hub where big ideas that might feel out of reach in other cities seem not only possible here, but something to strive for. Everyone is incredibly friendly and collaborative, and when you have big ideas, it's like the whole community rallies around you to support you in your goals. It's also just a great quality of life. Sure, people living in Bali work hard, but they also make time to appreciate the little things. Quality time with people they love, good food, getting outside and watching the sunset or swimming under a waterfall. In big cities, it can sometimes feel like a bit of a hamster wheel where everyone is too busy running to actually reflect on where they're going and the journey to get there. But in Bali, it just isn't like that. People are invested in living their best life and helping others do the same. So I split my time between running our creative agency and teaching photography at our school, Institute of Code. When we first started ISC, we tried to forget everything we knew about what a school was and reimagine what a school could be if the heart of every decision we asked ourselves, what will help our students learn best? What would set up every student to thrive, not only to learn the skills we're teaching them, but to create a profitable business that they could run from anywhere? The drive behind starting it wasn't really about specific skills themselves, it was about wanting to empower everyone to be able to live the life on their terms, to have a career that was creative, where they could have the freedom to set their own hours and be location independent. Photography, marketing, and web development were the skills that we picked to teach because they were all in-demand digital skills that in a really short period of time, you could go from zero to hero. And now as the borders in Bali reopen, I'm excited to get back to teaching in person as well. We run an advanced photography bootcamp in Bali where we bring students from all over the world to do a 10-day immersive experience, learning from experienced professional photographers. On one day, we'll be running around the campus at a private pool villa, shooting food and product photography in styled scenes. And then next, I'll be teaching students how to do studio lighting and shoot a fashion campaign with real models, stylists, hair and makeup artists, and the whole team. Then we might be running around to see waterfalls and rice terraces, shooting adventure photography. Over the 10 days, students get to learn advanced photography skills, build an incredible portfolio, refine their niche, and take their business strategy to the next level. It's a hell of a lot of fun. We're just about to start building a state-of-the-art natural light photography studio here in Bali, a creative hub where we can shoot our own clients as well as bring the photography community together through workshops and events. We're trying to make the entire building process as sustainable as possible and documenting every stage of the journey, which is a little bit of a creative project on the side and very different to the normal work that I do. Photography just isn't about showcasing a product or even capturing a moment in time. It's about telling a story. I love the storytelling aspect of photography, thinking about the emotion it can stir in the viewer, how it can translate a brand's personality, values, and even history into the content that I'm shooting for them. All of the different elements of a photo, from the framing, composition, to the lighting, to the depth of field, to the model's pose and expression, and even the styling of the scene all come together like musical instruments in an orchestra. And the creative flexibility of that is one of my favorite parts of the job. Small tweaks to any one of those elements can totally transform the feeling of the image and the story it's telling. When it comes to portraits and travel photography, the composition and posing of the model that I use depends on the story that I'm trying to tell. When you're positioning the model further away from the camera and they're looking off into the distance, the focus isn't on them or who they are. It's inviting the audience to step into their shoes and experience the destination for themselves. On the other hand, when you're wanting to draw attention to the model to capture that human element and convey emotion, then I like to bring the subject closer, playing around with framing and the expression that you can get from your model. I also love capturing motion, the splash of water or the flow of fabric or the wind in a model's hair. It just gives energy to a still photo. I find a lot of inspiration from other photographers and not necessarily from the photographers in the same niche or that have similar work. I'm often scrolling through Pinterest looking for crazy out there concepts that I can weave into my own work. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, but it keeps my creative juices flowing. People often ask if I have a favorite photographer, and to be honest, I see all photographers as my inspiration. We all look at the world slightly different, from the location to the styling to the way we sort of manipulate light and see colors. So drawing from all those different images and styles is my true inspiration. As a full-time photographer, you always get the question, but what gear was that shot on? Or what do you think is the best camera to buy? While I personally use the Canon R5 and have been using Canon since the very beginning, gear does not define you as a photographer, it's merely a tool. And sure, better tools can help make your life easier. For example, you could use a handsaw to cut a length of timber, or you could use a drop saw with fancy laser guides and auto stop features. At the end of the day, it's doing the exact same thing. One just makes your life a little bit easier than the other. Sure, maybe the fancy modern drop saw cuts a little straighter and faster, but it's still the same tool. This same principle applies to photography. You can take incredible photos on your grandma's dinky point and shoot film camera. It just might take you a little bit longer to think about things like the light and the composition. You might get a few shaky shots, or the exposure might be overexposed. Whereas modern state-of-the-art cameras mean you can shoot faster, more efficiently, and they allow for more forgiveness. In some ways, it can actually make you a more lazy photographer. But at the end of the day, as a professional, you're looking for speed, accuracy, and efficiency in your tools to get the job done quickly. If you look at the progression in smartphone cameras over the past few years, it's pretty incredible how far they've come and how many professional tools like, for example, optical zoom and control over the aperture and ISO have found their way into smartphones. While I don't think that smartphones will ever replace professional cameras with interchangeable lenses, I love that they have made photography so much more accessible to the everyday person and mean that as a photographer, I don't always need to carry my full set of gear around with me if I want to capture great photos, especially when I'm traveling or out and about. To have a camera capable of shooting raw photos in high resolution or 4K video in your pocket is pretty cool. One of the biggest changes that I think smartphones bring to portrait photography is just lowering the barrier to entry. I have students who ask every day things like, I wish I was good at photography, or I just don't know if I have what it takes to be a photographer. And beyond learning photography techniques, one of the best ways to boost your confidence as a photographer is just to practice taking photos. When smartphones automate a lot of the settings and have intelligent features and filters, and effects that can put things like blurry depth of field or a bokeh in the hands of someone with no professional experience, it can be that spark that starts a passion for photography. I love watching the look in someone's eyes the first time they take a photo that they are really proud of. It's a look of wonder and exciting, untapped possibility when they realize that they've created that. And I think smartphone cameras are helping more and more people have that aha moment. As much as I love landscape photography, portrait and fashion photography brings the human element into the picture, and it's often faster paced than landscapes. You have to constantly be thinking and evaluating not just the location and the light, but the way the model is moving, the hair, the eyes, the way that their clothes are sitting and moving with the model. And when you're shooting bigger campaigns, it often means working with a team to create the final image. And I love that part. You're all working creatively to bring the vision to life. As a portrait photographer, you need to be able to go with the flow, to know when to step in and give your model some direction, adjust their pose, etc. And when just to let them move in their own way that's natural to them. Portrait photography is creative. You're in control of the camera, but you have to work with another human to get the shot. To me, it makes it interesting and more creative, but it definitely means that you have to let go of perfectionism and have a bit more fun when you shoot, because your energy will impact how the model feels and moves. One of the questions I get asked most in the photography course is how to help your model get comfortable on camera. And it's something that you can have a huge impact on your photography, because when they're visibly nervous about posing and you have an inexperienced or shy model, it can be a bit of a recipe for disaster. Photos end up feeling awkward and staged. One of the simplest things you can do to help models relax and pose more naturally is remember that first and foremost, you're shooting another person. Before you start shooting, have a chat, get to know them a little, make them laugh. People tend to be more natural when they're moving rather than trying to pose in a specific way. So try to have them walking backwards and forth, looking over their shoulder, drop their head, even give them a little bit of a smile. Give them lots of positive reinforcement. The biggest confidence boost of all is seeing that their fears of looking awkward are unfounded and the shots actually look great. My top tips for amateur photographers wanting to take better portraits while traveling is to make sure you work with a light that makes your life easier. I live my life by sunrise and sunset, with over 90% of the photos I take while traveling shot either during blue hour or golden hour. Blue hour is the hour just before sunrise or sunset, and golden hour is the hour just after sunrise and just before sunset, both giving a soft glow that's just more flattering on the model while creating a more interesting landscape at the same time. While working in the middle of the day in harsh light can be really powerful, it generally takes more skill and more experienced model. So when you're just starting out, stick to golden hour and you'll find a lot of your photos look more naturally professional. And as an added perk, being up at sunrise often means that you get a location all to yourself and you don't have to battle the crowds. Alright guys, that's it for me. Get out there, have fun, just play around with your camera, play around with your phone, whatever it takes. Just keep taking photos and just enjoy yourself.